Hello and welcome to Geordie Leather. First of all, apologies for the long gap between the last video. As you know, I have certain health issues and I've been trying to deal with that, but I'm back, so let's get on with today's video. First of all, before we get on to the project for today, I want to say thank you to everybody that completed the poll in the community tab of the YouTube page. So the general consensus appears to be that the majority of you want me to continue to do this sort of tutorial style video with the occasional product build video. There was no interest in live streaming or questions and answers, and very little interest in behind the scenes vlogged style. So we're going to stick with what seems to work. That's regular demonstration tutorials of using tools and materials, which is what the majority of you seem to want. So thank you for completing the poll, and if you want to have a look at it and add to that poll, just head over to the Geordie Leather channel, and the poll is in the community tab where you can put your input. So thanks for that. So it's been a while, so I'm a bit rusty, so forgive me if I'm a bit not with it. I'm not with it even more than usual, I hear you say, but I'm going to do a simple project, and it's this. This is a popular product I used to make quite regularly. It's a little leather coin or dice bag. A lot of people who play these World of Warcraft games like to have little leather pouches to keep the dice in. So I'll show you what this basically is. If you look at the overhead camera, you get a better view of that. So it's a leather pouch with a drawstring which pulls open, and as you can see, this one has some dice for these various games that these people play. I don't play myself, I'm not a fan, so forgive my ignorance regarding the topic, but a lot of customers request I make these to store their dice, and occasionally I get a troll from under a bridge who wants to store gold coins, so they're good for that too. So looking at the construction again, this one is made from pig skin, but you could use a variety of leathers. I'll show you some leathers in a moment, but this is made from black pig skin. It's a very simple construction. It consists of 4 rectangles which is stitched together to form the pouch. The lip is overturned and it has some little eyelets, which I can show you on the close-up. Little metal eyelets which a cord has been threaded through, and we'll go through the threading of that later in the stage. But it's a very simple project, very easy to make. So let's have a look at some materials first. So here are a variety of different types of material. Generally, for this sort of project, you want something that's a fairly thin leather or skin, so it's fairly flexible, so it'll scrunch up easily when you pull the drawer ties. You could use a very thin veg tan, which would be interesting, but I've always used either pig skin, sheepskin or goat skin for this sort of product. So let's have a look at those materials now. So we'll start off with the thickest. Now this is some, I'll zoom out slightly so you can see that better. This is some goat skin. This is a natural uncoloured goat skin. It's about, let's check that, I think it's about 1 millimetre thick. So yeah, just under, maybe 0.8 of a millimetre. So that's probably the thickest you really want for this sort of application. So goat skin's quite stretchy. It's commonly used for book binding and wallets, that sort of thing. But I don't use that very often myself. My next option would be something like a sheepskin. This is sheepskin. This is what you call nappa leather, which basically nappa means it's a very soft, flexible leather. So it's also quite stretchy in both directions, so that's good again when you want a very soft product. So sheepskin comes in a very wide range of colours. It's a very cheap material compared with leather. Well, this is leather, but compared with cow hide, sheepskin is 1/3 of the price. So very good for small projects where you want to make a large quantity. For example, I would make batches of these, maybe 10 or more at a time, and they would cost less than £1 each in terms of material costs. So sheepskin's very good. My preference, personal preference, is pigskin. Now, pigskin is probably the cheapest leather skin you can buy. So, I mean, this, for example, this apron I wear is made from one complete hide of pigskin, which costs less than £18–20 in the UK. Not sure what that is in dollars, sorry, but it's about 10% of the cost it would be for leather, cowhide leather. So pigskin's very, very cheap, but it's also a very thin material. Let's measure this one. Let me have a look if you can see that on camera. That's 0.4 mil, so it's very thin. But you tend to find, like a lot of skins, different areas of the skin have different thicknesses. So the main body, the back of the pig, maybe the sides, is thicker than the underbelly. So if you look at this piece here, you can see on the overhead camera that this side is quite thick in comparison to this side, which is probably the belly. Quite stretchy, quite wrinkled, but it's also about half the thickness. So that isn't massively useful. But for this particular project, I'm going to use this section here. So pigskin obviously has natural blemishes and things like all skins and hides do. So just pick a piece of leather or a section of your skin that is, I mean I'm saying blemish free, but if you, I'll show you some other examples of these same products. Let's have a look. This one, for example, this is again pig skin, but it's fairly wrinkled, but that's, to some people, that's a lot more character than having the very smooth surface. So to some people, they prefer a wrinkled texture, maybe with the odd imperfection. It's more natural, and you know, but others, perfectionists, like to have a perfect smooth surface. But everyone's different, so you can use as much of the leather as you can, depending on the customer's preference. Just while I've got this out, this was made from sheepskin. As you can see, it's a tan colour, and because it's slightly larger, it shows you the construction a bit better. So it is basically a rectangle of leather brought to a point, and there's 4 of those, and they're just stitched together. The top is then overlapped to form a bit of a hem, seam. That just reinforces that part of the leather, because it's quite thin leather, and you're going to be putting eyelets in there. It's obviously going to be getting a bit of tension and tugging, so reinforce that area to give it a bit more strength. So let's just put this to one side. So we're going to use the black pigskin for this particular demonstration. So I'll move these others out of the way. But like I say, you could use a thin veg tan if you want to give it a certain colour yourself, but not too thick. So we'll cut this. I have made a little pattern board, but as I've said previously, I'll zoom in again. This is just basically a rectangle. It's 200mm long by 80mm wide. And I've just brought one end to a point, so measuring from one end 160 to the centre of the board, and just cutting off those 2 corners gives you a nice point. So that's basically it. I will eventually put a pattern on the website which you can download, but I haven't as yet. So we're going to use this to find a nice piece of clean area that isn't too marked. This happens to have a nice straight edge along the bottom, so we'll take advantage of that. So we need 4 of these. So you just line the bottom edge up with a straight edge, and just take a pencil and just draw around your pattern. And we're going to cut this out with scissors. You could use a knife, but because it's so soft, you'll tend to find that a knife will snag quite easily. So with scissors, ideally leather scissors, I mean, these don't have to be that accurate because they're going to be sewn inside out. you're not going to see the edges. They're going to be hidden when it's all unfolded, so it's not that vital that you're good at cutting out with these. Alright, so there we go. So we take a pair of leather shears. Talking about leather shears, they need to be good quality. You get what you pay for with all tools, but with shears, the cheap ones don't last 5 minutes. So get yourself a decent pair of leather shears, but only ever use them for cutting material, leather and some fabrics, but nothing else. So we'll just cut these out. Anyway, I won't bore you making you watch me cut all of these out, so we'll come back after the break when it's all done. Okay, so I'm back. As you can see, I've cut out the 4 panels. Now before we stitch them together, there's one little task we have to do now, because once they're stitched together you can't do this. So as you saw from the original one, the top end has been folded over, so that acts as a reinforcement for the 2 eyelets. So we're going to basically fold over that edge, glue it down, and then it's ready for the eyelets. So let's take one of them. It doesn't have to be that precise, but I would say maybe 12mm, half an inch overlap. So if we just take a little pencil, you can use the grids on your mat to so we want to, let's say 20mm, that's 2 squares. So we'll fold that over, and then that gives us that little overlap there. Now the pencil line is just purely so we know where we need to glue to. So it's not going to be seen, but as you can see, there's the glue line. So let's take some glue and a spatula. So this is just contact cement. Just going to spread it onto both surfaces up to that pencil line. Like so. So it takes a few moments to go off, so we'll just do the next one. So if you can see, I'll zoom in so you get a better idea where I'm using the grids on my mat. So each grid is 5mm, so I think so I'm lining the top of the material up to the top of there and then folding down halfway point 2. That's a quick way of doing it without having to measure everything. And then let's again do a very approximate pencil line. A bit of glue, spread that around up to that line. Okay. You know, a lot of people don't realise that the mat they're actually working on has these lines for a purpose. People just think, oh, it's just for cutting on, but it's really useful for doing things like this. Saves getting your roller out and trying to line things up, and it's right in front of you, so use it. So that's the third one, and finally we'll just do the same. Try and put it so you can see it on the camera. So line it up the top line, down 2 squares, so that's 10mm, which is near enough. very light pencil mark. Let's get some blue. There we go. So, as I worked from right to left, this means the one on the extreme right should be ready. And by the time I get the one on the extreme left, that'll be ready as well. So, put those to one side. So, all I'm doing here, get rid of that bit of glue off my bench first. Okay, so basically just folding it over to the glue line, making sure the ends are square. And then once it's all nice and square, press it together. If you want, you can take a little ruler. It's a ruler? It's not a ruler, it's a roller. And just press that down nice and firmly. Got a nice sharp edge there, you see. So we'll do the same with the next one. See, they don't have to be millimetre accurate. They're not going to be seen. They're just a reinforcement. If you're making a lot of these, you can probably knock them together in less than 15 minutes once you're used to the procedure, and you can make them match just quite easily. You get any glue on, it just rubs off with your finger quite easily. And finally, okay, so there we have our 4 panels with the reinforcement ready. Now you can put the eyelets in now before you stitch, or you can do it afterwards. Generally I prefer to do the stitching first, because if you make a mess of that, you haven't wasted time doing all the eyelets as well. So I'm going to stitch these together. I'll take this one as an example. You can see on the close-up camera here, it's just basically, this is inside out. So first of all, we're going to stitch it inside out, then reverse it. So all the stitching will be hidden on the inside of the pouch. So each of the 4 rectangles is basically stitched together quite close to the edge to form this little pouch. So I'm going to do that on my industrial machine just to my left here. But if you're using a thin skin like pig skin, sheepskin, most good quality domestic sewing machines can cope with that. Ideally you want a leather sewing machine, but we're not going to talk about sewing machines in this episode. That's for a future series I have planned, where I'll go into great depth about what sort of machines you need if you intend to go down that route, how to use them, how to stitch and so on. But that's a later series for the future. But if you want to stitch it by hand, go ahead, but it will take you quite a while. There's quite a lot of stitching in this very small product. So one point to mention, if you are making these to sell, you'll find it isn't financially viable to stitch things like this by hand, because it could take you a couple of hours if you're a good stitcher. So really they need to be stitched by machine to make them viable to sell. If you're just making it for yourself or your friends, then fine, go ahead and stitch it by hand. But if you're making them to sell and you're making them in batches, a sewing machine is the way to go. So that's a future video. So I'm going to go over to my machine, quickly stitch these 4 panels together, and then we'll come back and do the eyelets. Okay, that's done. So I've stitched it together. We'll have a quick look at this. I purposely used a different colour thread just to make it easier for you to see. Normally you use the same colour thread as the material, obviously. So that's all 4 corners stitched together, and that's the difficult bit done really. So the next step is to put in the eyelets. So we'll do that next. So we need a punch and some eyelets and an eyelet plier. So let's have a look. Punch, eyelet press and eyelets. So again, colour of the eyelet is entirely up to you. On this one I used silver, which seems to go well against the black, but if you look at my eyelet set you can see, bring it over here so you can see it better. They come in a wide variety of colours and sizes. I'm going to be using again, before I make that decision, on this one I've used square section leather cord, but on, where did I put it? This one I used some round leather cord or lace. So it's entirely up to you, depends what the sort of look you're going for. I think just for convenience, hoping I've got enough of this. Yeah, I'm going to use the same again. This is square shaped leather lace, as it's called, or cord. It's just a thin strip of leather. It's quite strong, so I'm going to use that. So I need, where are we? I'm going to use the silver because I think it contrasts nicely against the black. So we need 2 for each panel, so that's a total of 8. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2, 4, 6, 8, I think, is that right? 2, 4, 6, 7, so that's 8. So you don't particularly need to be too accurate here, just do it by eye. Let's use the overhead camera, zoom in a bit. So you want basically 2 eyelets per panel centered through the reinforced area. So you take your punch, this is already set to the correct size, and if you just eyeball it, if you want to measure it you can, but I don't think you need to for this sort of thing. So I would say maybe 20 mil in from each end, so center that, and then just, you tend to find with very soft materials they don't punch as cleanly, so you have to press harder, and it may not always come out cleanly the first time. There you go. So we'll do the same on the next one. Again, roughly same distance from the edge, centered. And just pull out that little plug. Now let's do one panel because it's the same for all 4. I won't bore you with that. So once you've punched your holes, you need to insert your eyelets. Now, because we're finished with the stitching, we actually turn this the right way around, a bit easier to see. So just basically turn it inside out. So it's nice and soft, so it's not difficult to turn it inside out. As you get the bulk of the shape turned, stick your hand in and just use your fingers to manipulate the pointy end, which can be a bit tricky. Once you get the basic shape worked out, you can take something like a bone folder, and if we just use that to press out the points of the square. So you've got square bottom, so there we go, that's the shape. It should fit, sorry, should sit, because it's got a square bottom, open like so. So I'll put these 2 eyelets in and then we're almost done. So we want the dress side of the eyelet. See, shot, there we are. The dress side on obviously the outside of the pouch. So just push it through the hole. Oops. So with the eyelet pliers, I think I've shown you these before, but just to recap, eyelet pliers, even there, have special heads which fit the eyelet. One side protects the nice decorative side, and the other side is a pin which spreads out the back. So where is it? Yeah. So we put the decorative side in the dome. I'm not sure if you can see that. I'll use the close-up camera. You can see the top has the pin and the bottom has a dome. There you go. So we'll do that. So again, I'll use the camera close up. Obviously black against black isn't easy to see, but once that pin is in the back of the eyelet, we just give a good squeeze, and as you can see, the front is nice and round and dressed, but the back has been spread out properly. Now these are commonly used for things like shoelace holes. They just reinforce it and give it a bit more strength. So we'll do the same with the other side, and then I think you've got the idea. Let's widen that hole slightly. Put in the eyelet. So it's pushed through the hole, the prongs stick out, and then which is the best view actually? Up view or down view? Say view. So, sorry, it's not a very good camera angle, I appreciate that, but so again, got the nice dress side and the back's been compressed. So I won't show you the rest, you get the idea. So we'll come back once I've finished all of those. Okay, all done. So that's the eyelets in. The last step is to thread the cord and to put the stops on. Now if we look at this one, let's have a look. If you look at the top, it looks quite complicated, but it's actually quite simple. You've got two cords. One goes clockwise and the other goes anti-clockwise. So we've got two ends of each cord on either side. Now the purpose of that is so that when you pull on both cords, it pulls the bag closed. I've just realised one thing I've actually forgotten to show you is that these little tabs, I put some little pull tabs. It makes it easier to open the bag with little tabs on. Now they're just some little loops of the same type of leather, just glued on, and a couple of rivets. So you can see how it's done. I won't bother showing you that, but straightforward. So we'll do the looping of the cord next. So we take the new bag pouch. So we take a piece of cord, and all we're going to do is insert the cord through each hole, alternating. So we go all the way around with the first cord. So in one hole, out the next, until we get back to the side we started on. Let me just zoom this top camera in a bit. Maybe that gives you an extra perspective. So now you can see, so looking at the top view, where are we? So we started this side, so we've come in from quarter panel 1, in, zigzagged out till we come out the same panel again. And if you leave about 6 inches, and then if we just trim the original one off the same sort of length. Where's my scissors gone? There they are. Now what we're going to do, so we've got the first one coming in from this side and going around, so the other one has to come in from the opposite side, so this side. So if we just start going through the same holes but in the opposite direction, so that the loop is on the first tie side. Sounds very complicated, but you get the idea once you've done one. It's the first one's always a tricky one, isn't it? But after that it gets easier. So in and out, in and out. Might feel a bit stiff at first because the cord's new, but once they wear in, they'll open and close quite easily. So we see we're back to the first panel that we originally started with. Where's my thread gone? There it is. So we're zigzagging in and out of each eyelet until we're back to the same side we started at now, which just makes sure I've got the right, which one's which. It's this one, the longer one. So right, I think it's time for a cup of coffee. It's been one of those days today. Now, we're up in the north-west of England here, and we've had a lot of snow over the last few days. So we're based on a very remote location up in the Pennine Hills. So we get snowed in quite frequently if you have a heavy winter. Right, last hole. So fortunately the snow seems to be abating. Right, so I need to pull enough through just so we've got an equal number. So you can see from this angle, look at the top again, you've got a looped side, which I'll tighten those two, and on this side you've got a loop here with the ends on this side. So again, we'll just cut off, making sure they're roughly, doesn't matter too much of this because they're going to be trimmed twice, so roughly the same sort of length just to get them out of the way. Okay, so if this work is working correctly, let's get the top view, slightly zoom out. If this is working correctly, when we pull these two, the bag should close. There you go. So that's exactly what we want. Now, in order to keep the bag closed, we need some means of locking these to prevent it opening by itself. So what I've done with this one is you just put a bead on it, and when you close the bag, like here, you slide the beads along, and that acts as a sort of a brake. It stops the bag opening of its own accord, and that acts as a lock, stops the bag opening. To open the bag, you just pull the beads away, and then you can open the bag. So there we go. So I'll find some beads and we'll do that, and we're all done. Entirely up to you what you use. These are just some decorative craft beads I got from the craft shop, but some people use little metal ornaments, some make their own. Entirely up to you what you use, doesn't matter. Ideally you want them to match, but whatever, as long as it'll fit. And it's just for convenience when I use those two, because they're, well, they're not the same size, are they? Anyway, I can't see too much in colours at the moment, so it's only for demonstration purposes, it doesn't matter. So we take the bag, we take the two ends, and just thread those through your chosen stop, we'll call it. If the hole isn't big enough, you may have to widen that with a drill bit or something, but depends what you're going to use, obviously. So once you've got them both through, you're just going to take your two ends, make sure they're both lined up, and then just tie a knot in the end. So that just keeps the stop from coming off. So, and we'll quickly do the other side. So again, just take your two ends, put your little stop on. I've seen some very nice ones with little decorative ornamental steel or brass little decorations, which cost more obviously, but some people like it. I wouldn't willing to pay that bit extra, so that's fine. So again, just tie a knot and we are basically done. So there is our bag. See, it's got a square bottom, overhead view. Just pull your tags, tassels, and then lock it off with your little stops. And there we have a completed dice bag, coin bag, call it what you will. They're very popular. If you're using a sewing machine, you can knock these together in under 15 minutes and they sell very well. So they're an easy project. Like I say, the pigskin, it's about £1 for that sort of quantity. With your bits and pieces, probably less than £1.50 to manufacture this, and you can knock it together in 15 minutes, like I say. So very simple project, give it a go. Let me know in the comments how you get on and any sort of modifications you've made yourself. I'd love to hear about those. So before I go, I've introduced a new thing for the website. If you haven't been to the website, if you pop down to geordieleather.com, we sell a massive range of materials, tools, equipment, everything you need for the leather worker. But we've got this new thing where every month we're doing a giveaway. So the January giveaway is a £25 gift token which you can spend on anything you want on the website. Now the website offers free postage anywhere in the world, whether you order something for £1 or £1,000. The shipping is always free. So check it out. Have a look at the giveaway. If you want to enter, it's only available to subscribers, so obviously you have to subscribe. So please do that, and don't forget the thumbs up. Once you subscribe, you can enter the competition every month and stand a chance to win. This month it's a £25 gift token, but other months it'll be tools, equipment, whatever happens to be available to give to you for your support. So check out the website. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Subscribing gives you the patterns, the entry to the competitions and the giveaways and all that good stuff. So why not? So thanks a lot. We'll see you next time. Not sure what the next episode's going to be, but I know we have a big series on using sewing machines, so that's coming up. But until next time, thanks for watching. Bye bye.